You think, oh, I'll just live stream it, put it up on the big screen, put my slippers on, get out a beer, and just watch Pete do his thing. So you can do that now. So I'm saving you all that stuff. Okay, what's it like to start? What's it like to do this? And I wanted to introduce this topic as sort of number one because two of you sort of have been in business, your own business, and you sort of got a bit of an idea how it works. Like I say, I've been self-employed for 30 years, or about 25 years actually. The last couple of years I've been working for the Gov. But it might be just a good idea to just introduce you to the concept. Hopefully you don't all hand in your enrolments. Just a bit about me. I guess you'll read a lot of this sort of stuff. So 25 years self-employed and 30 different outlets. I'm saying 7 renovations. So I took a store that was like a pub and renovated, or a restaurant and renovated it. But 23 of them were where I went into sort of grey Besser block walls and converted and made a business out of them. 2 chains. I got involved with 2 chains. One in crafts and haberdashery of all things, and the other one was a chain of sandwich shops. Both Queensland and New South Wales. We're currently working on 3 entities, which is basically work skills for the undeveloped world. That's what Phil and myself are both working hard to make happen, which is basically using the power of the internet to actually train people that are less fortunate, that $10 for them is a lot of money, and we want to be able to deliver education for about that price. So we're keen to sort of move into that space and get people to come and help us in that. Online reputation, this is something that I really need you guys to be working on. Everything these days is built around this online world. They say about 50% of us, the workforce of the future, 50% of us will work as freelancers. This idea of working for a company and being employed by someone is long gone. It's being eroded every week as we speak. And 50% of us will be, in other words, will be self-employed. Not by choice, but that's just the way the systems go. They're only going to employ you on a project base. And when the project finishes, so does your work finish. But that's okay, because you're running 3 or 4 projects at a time anyway. You're working globally. You're not just working for a local company. And as projects come and go, you're still actually fully employed, but you're working across that sort of basis. But if you don't have a sort of an understanding of running a business, of operating a business, or particularly about branding yourself, then you're going to struggle in that space. And so I've spent the last few years building my online reputation. I know that sounds very narcissistic, is that what they say? But it's not. It's about the same thing that Coca-Cola does, you know, getting that brand out into people's face. And it's important because I'm already working globally now. I'm working for a startup over in Greece. I'm working for Cora. Actually, I'm working with them in Silicon Valley, and I've been engaged with another startup in Boston that's actually I'm working with, just in the digital space, just by emails and Skype. I'm actually working for them. So quite bizarre. Here I am predicting it for everyone else, and then I sat down the other day and said, actually, I'm actually doing that. I'm actually working for these people. Core is probably a place that I've contributed an awful lot to, because it's a wonderful medium, the idea of question and answers, because people ask you questions and you're able to just sit down and really provide some really great answers. You know, I spent a fair bit of time answering the questions, and a lot of those have been picked up by Forbes. 4 of my articles have been published in Forbes, which is pretty cool. Huffington Post, anyone knows that, and Slate Magazine. Only this week I got an article published in Slate Magazine. And I write on topics a lot like education. I'm pretty passionate about that. Education, disruption and reform. Coffee, of course. Cafes, starting a business, all of that sort of stuff. So accounting of all things, I write in that space. And I'm building a profile. I'm building a sort of a go-to. And so I'm getting followers. I'm not actively seeking them. They're following me. But just on the weekend, 300 more people followed me on Quora. You know, and so now I have like 5,800 followers. And so what happens when I publish something? 5,800 people get whatever it is that I'm publishing. And so you can see how you could monetize that pretty soon, can't you? And when it's 10,000 or 20,000, you can see how you could convert that into some form of monetization. And that's the path we all have to go, guys. All of us have to go that path. We all have to. And remember, I'm a failed English student. You know, if you did a survey of my class and said, you know, who's likely to be a top writer in 2012 and 2013, I would not have got a look in. And now I am one. So I'm across all these industries: retail, hospitality, manufacturing, resources, consultancy, construction, internet. I guess if I've got qualifications are basically in accounting and finance, but I didn't complete them in the sense that I didn't go through to get the award because the call of business got me before the award got there. It was a race between do I stay for the degree or start a business, and basically the start of business won, and then I never thought to go back to study because I was studying. Every day I was studying. Every day I was in a survival mode trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, handsome devil, isn't it? Usually I show that and everyone laughs, and I don't understand why. But what happened was that that's my logo. I'm stuck with that. I mean, I'm much more handsome than that, but I'm stuck with it because 4 years ago when I started writing, that's what got published on all the internets, you see. And now that's my brand. That's who people think Peter Baskerville is. So I can't change it. And that's one of the problems we've got. Not a problem, but you've got to understand when you put a profile up and you start to build content around it, people have to get used to that. Because when they go onto Twitter and they see, oh, that's that guy from Quora. When they go to LinkedIn, oh, that's that guy from Twitter. Oh, that's that guy from Facebook. You need to create a photo that you're stuck with. Now, I'm a lot more handsome than that, as this photo shows. Because unbeknown to you guys, but I'm actually a powerlifter. You wouldn't think so, would you? But anyone that's done, is Tim here? No. Anyone that's done, he's in the army and he would have done workouts. But you know, anyone that's lifted heavy weights like deadlifts would know that 220 kilos is pretty heavy. Yeah. Well, this guy lifted. Oh, hang on. This guy 220. There you go. That's actually a world record. You wouldn't think, eh? When you get to my age, world records are pretty easy because you're competing at dead people. So it wasn't that hard. I'm the only active person at my age that's actually stupid enough to try and lift 220 kilos off the ground. But I did it, and they gave me a certificate that said I was a world champion. So that was pretty cool. That's I do that to my daytime students because they say, "Oh, this old man," you know. And then I show them that, and they go, "Oh, he could pick us up like that and walk us out of the class." So I usually get a little bit more respect after that. Anyway, I just want to go through I'm calling it my startup, but obviously I'm doing this with Phil, my brother. We started Industry Professor Association, which is an association that's mobilising, connecting industry personnel to promote global skilling. We're trying to develop a product that's not actually taught by professors from academic. We want to get professors from industry, people that actually know and live in industry who know stuff. We want to tap their knowledge and share it with the world. So we've created an Industry Professor Association. And from that, I've created a business called Skillmaker, which is it's a MOOC, a massive open online learning course. We haven't quite developed it. That was what you saw on that board that I just rubbed off. But this helps global learners access and apply best practice industry skills at freemium prices. Freemium prices means that you could actually do the learning for free. We've developed it so that it is available for free. If you spend $20, you accelerate it by giving you a workbook. If you then say, now that I've done that, I want to get accredited, well then that's an extra charge. So the idea is if you just want to do the learning, you can actually do that for free. If you want the value-added products, then we actually obviously charge for that. But we see that this is going to be a wonderful product for that world that's currently connecting to the internet, but they don't have the money that we have in our society to be able to spend. Even on a course like this is beyond them. to have to come up with the money to spend here. They can't do it. And so we're passionately involved in that, both altruistically and obviously we've got a monetarisation policy behind it all. And then we've created Now Master, and Now Master helps industry rock stars. Helps industry rock stars convert their intellectual expertise into passive income with online courses. So these guys here, we want to work with them. We work with them to download their stuff into digital learning products, and then we create online courses for them which they sell to the planet. And they do that in that passive way. Like I say, there's people that are, today, my articles get read about, it's probably around 8,000 reads today. So while I'm influencing 20 people here and chatting to 20 people face to face, there's 8,000 people today have read my online stuff. That's the influence that you can have. And like I'm trying to say, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to big note myself. I'm saying I'm building a business online. I'm building a funnel that will eventually lead to sale of ebooks, that will eventually lead to the sale of online courses, that will eventually lead to the sale of learning materials. Who knows? May eventually they might engage me, people might engage me because of that to help them solve their problems. But that's what I think we all need to be doing. We all need to be working in that space immediately. Every day that you wait, other people are taking your space. Scary stuff. And basically, Indians are moving into this space massively. And so by the time you guys get curved out of your jobs and you have to actually start a business and become a freelancer, you're on page 100 of Google because the Indian entrepreneurs have already created that space. Well, we've got I carry on like this, I get a bit, scary about this, but obviously what I'm seeing is well into the future. But that's what's happening. We are competing. We're not as comfortable. We shouldn't be as comfortable as we are. Look at what happened. 100-year-old Holden closed. Ford closed. BP refinery closed. Isn't someone sort of going, huh? What's happening here? Wonderful world of industrial revolution, it's over. We are now in a digital age, and if you're not picking that up, if you're not moving into that digital age, you're going to get left behind. And what I'm saying is it's the developing countries that are moving into the digital age faster than us, because we're still living off the benefits of the industrial revolution, but it's coming to an end. Just some big companies are closing. We should be getting scared. Anyway, I didn't come here to scare you. I came here to talk about this.
You have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that were successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it, you got to have passion. And I think that's
sobering thoughts. That guy has got to be, one of the great entrepreneurs, on the planet in terms of what he did. But you would think that he got it easy because the guy was so smart. But he didn't talk about it being easy, did he? He didn't say, oh, this is so easy. Starting a business, it's so easy. People ask me, about starting a business, and if I was going to liken to something, it's a bit like you guys coming tonight, and I don't want to scare you off because I need your dollars, and saying, you know what, Pete, I really want to compete in the 100 meters at the Olympics. I say, okay, no problem. That's what you're asking me to do. Pete, I want you to help me start a successful business. It's about the same. You don't realize it. You don't realize what you've got to, how good you've got to be successful in this space. The good news is there's a lot of good news. That one, we have to go into this space anyway. We have to become entrepreneurs. Like I say, the world is changing. 50% of employees in the future will be engaged as freelancers, in other words, people in their own business. So we're going to that place anyway, so we might as well learn those skills. But these are the sorts of things he was talking about. This is the smartest guy in starting businesses on the planet. He was saying, it's hard. He was saying, you got to do it over a sustained period. It's not, I went and started a business and I was successful. Sustained. It's irrational. Your friends, it's irrational because people are going to tell you it's irrational. Why don't you stick with your day job? What's wrong with you? You know, just stand there and turn the wheel like you've done all this time and get your superannuation and then you die. You know, it's what a wonderful life, you know. I remember standing and, you know, like I say, I've lived a particular way, and Phil will know this, but I've lived a particular life that I've never given into the other side, if you know what I mean. I've always lived by my wits and because I want to. But anyway, let me tell you this. So I'm standing in the line, I think with my $40,000 I was probably banking from the pub for the weekend, probably in a calico bag. I better finish soon. And on the wall, they mapped out my life for me. The NAB beautifully had mapped out my life. And you start here, and then you know, something happens. You have a relationship, and you get a loan for an engagement ring. And then you come down, and you get a loan for a car. And then you get a loan for a house. And then you get a loan for bringing up your kids. And then you get a loan for the school fees. And then you get a loan for this and a loan for that. And then you die. And they've mapped out my life beautifully so that I pay them an income for the whole time of my existence. That I make their shareholders rich for the entire of my... They have defined my life for me. My life is to live to provide interest for the bank shareholders. Oh, if only someone had told me that at the start. And I was just so shocked by that. But that's how we live. We actually live to that. And you don't realise that you're spending your time making the shareholders of banks rich because of the path we've chosen, you know. And I just didn't want to be part of that. I felt like just going to that thing and just ripping it off the wall because I just said, I won't be that. You know, if I'm going to live a life, it's not going to be that one. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. It's irrational because the bank's saying, you're crazy. You shouldn't be doing this, you know. And so it is irrational. You need to have passion. Sorry, guys. You've got to have fun doing it. And you should never give up. And if you do all of those things, you should be successful at starting a business, all right? So you got that? That's all you got to do. Just have all of those things. None of them are much fun, are they? Why is it so hard? The reason it's so hard because you've got to make 10,000 decisions. Phil didn't believe me. Phil has come at entrepreneurship from a completely different path, mostly from, you know, corporate life and trades and that sort of stuff. And I said this to him. I said, you know, we're going to have to make 1,000 decisions. We did a cafe recently. And I said, we're going to make 10,000 decisions before we can get this cafe up and running. And he goes, 10,000 decisions? Have we got to sign the lease, buy some stock, employ some staff? And we just agonised over this decision. And it's about, and I'm sure Phil was saying now, it was about 10,000 decisions. That's how many you got to make. You know, it's that many. It's the colour of things. It's the size of things. It's the timing of things. It's the amount you're going to buy. It's who you're going to buy it from. You know, it's just so many. That's why it's so hard. The sheer scale and the urgency, and a lot of the times you have to make the decision because you've got a 5 o'clock deadline. But I've just been introduced to it. Can't I think about this? No, you've got to decide by 5 o'clock. You know, so you've got this urgency and you've got this scale. We're completely lack of experience. I mean, luckily I'd had 29 businesses before we did the one with Phil. But so it wasn't so hard. But imagine if you've never had any experience at starting a business. Imagine how hard those 10,000 decisions are when you've never had an experience. When you've got not as much resources as you wish you could have had. You know, you want to have $100,000. Well, you've only got 20. How are you going to make it happen? And we've got a limited buffer. If things go wrong, we've got not much to play with. You know, when big corporations lose $100 million, they just borrow off their shareholder funds and then go again and make it back the next year. We don't have that luxury. You know, if things go wrong for us, poof, we're out of the game because we've got a very limited game. So that's why it's hard. We've got to make 10,000 decisions. But it's okay. I'll help you make the first 100. And the good news is you've only got 9,900 to go. That's for you guys to do. But I can help you with the first 100. But if you see where these 100 are pitched, you realise, like a coat hanger, they're the things that if I can get them right, basically the others will work out. What the problem we have is that we don't even know those first 100. We've never faced those 100. We don't know what they look like. We don't know what they smell like. We don't know how they should be made. So I will be spending a lot of this course not on the 9,900. You got them for yourself. I'll help you make the top 100, the ones that are key to making a successful business. Yeah, 12 weeks is about all we can get done. But I reckon by the end of the course you'll have made 100 decisions, or we will have gone through enough things that 100 decisions won't be too bad for you. So what can we do with the scale? We can do some, the urgency, we can do some pre-planning and get you thinking about the big picture. A lot of you are down there in the details of trying to make a business work. I need to give you some big picture stuff. You know, I need to give you the pictures of the funnels and the online reputation. For the experience, well, group activities, there's a lot of experience in this room. You know, we just got to draw it out of each other. That's why these times that we spend in doing these exercises are really important, because there's people in this room that can help us. You know, the stuff that you guys have done, that if collectively, if we shared it, maybe we can all help each other. So I'm looking for that. The resources, classmate, mentors. Obviously, there'll be myself and there'll be other people that you'll meet during the course that may be able to help you with the resources. The limited buffer, we have a thing called an affordable loss. So what we do is we play a testing game. We don't do a launch game. The worst thing you can do is what I did. I went home, I told my wife we were going to open a business. We sold the house. I put her into a flat with 2 kids, took all of that money, went down and put it on a business, and, you know, crazy. No experience, you know. It failed at store 9. I got to 9 stores and I went, the model's wrong. This model doesn't work. The margins were tight. The staff were expensive. The product was seasonal. The margins were too small. The customers only bought like this. It was knitting wool and haberdashery, you know. The model, I go, oh my God, the formula doesn't work. I was at 9 stores before I realised the formula doesn't work. So I got out of it as best I could, but boy, what a learning. And that's when I went into food. I thought, food, that's the thing for me. 24/7, everyone needs it, cheap staff, you know, high margins. You know, it was really, really good product. So we're going to be talking about, with that limited buffer, we're not going to be launching you out into big things. We're going to run some testing, and that's why I want you to stick with me, and let's do some online building of your business first. Even if you're thinking about a cafe, let's go and play online first. Let's write some stuff about coffee and curate some stuff about, let's see if there's an interest there. See if we can get some people to follow us. If we think we've got a cupcake secret, well, let's go and play with it online. Let's do some testing. Let's put some affordable loss on the line before we go. Why is it so hard? Because of the risk, massive risk. And the reason being, because if this is your market, if the big circle is the market you want to go into, guess where the established businesses have gone? Right in the middle, where it's safe. This is safe business in the middle. You know, all that's left is the stuff around the fringes, the stuff they don't want to get into. You know why they don't want to get into it? Because it's risky. But that's the only place we can play. We can't compete with them in here. They're already established. They've already got the corner. They've already got the market. We actually have to establish new businesses here. And look where failure is, right on the edge. So we're forced, by opening a business, to go into that high-risk area. So that's why it's hard, because you have to take that risk. So we're forced into high risk. And sadly, and this works for you or against you. Sadly for you guys, it's now going to work against you, because you're going to learn in this course the things that you didn't know. But there's a lot of people that start businesses and they don't know what they don't know. And funnily enough, some of them make it through. Some of them have got no idea and they make it through, you know. Rarely, most of it comes back to bite them. But you guys are actually going to, in this course, know what you didn't know before you started. So, and failure is a new teacher. You know, you've got to redefine the concept of failure. We've got to fail in order to learn, and this is a really important. It's an entrepreneurial thinking. It's something that you don't like in corporate life. Corporate life, it's all about don't fail. In this game, we actually go looking for failure. We do something knowing it won't work, but boy, we'll get some learning out of it. And then next time when we invest it properly, we'll know what we're doing, because we've had that failure. We know what doesn't work. So I know that sounds really weird to you, but that actually is. It'll make more sense hopefully later in the course. And we've got no customers, we've got no cash flow, so it's hard, isn't it? What can we do? In the high risk, instead of avoiding the high risk, we're going to manage it. I'm going to show you how we're going to manage risk. In terms of don't know, well, we're going to do coaching, market intelligence. We're going to launch online first. We're going to try an online version of whatever you've had in your mind. We're going to try the online version because that can be done for less than $1,000. And you can get a feel for whether this is the right time or whether this is the right market or whether this is the right idea you should be doing. And you're not committing your whole livelihood to it like I do. Failure is a mindset. You know, scientists go to work and fail every day. Those research scientists fail. Didn't work, didn't work, didn't work. And you know, they accept it. And then 10,000 things later, they figure it out. Now, they accept that failure as part of the process. We have to learn to do that. Gamers, any of you gamers? StarCraft, that's me. I shoot things and blow things up. They're 13-year-old kids beat me all the time on this game. But I'm learning. I'm starting to beat some of the girls, but because they haven't learnt the game yet. But gaming, when you fail at gaming, you don't see it as failure. You say, aha, I know, next time I'm going to go around here with a much bigger force and that'll solve it, or I'll dig in tighter here. We accept it in gaming, in science, why don't we accept it in business? So we have to learn, we have to understand this concept of affordable loss. And as far as no customers, we need to think about cash flow. Whenever you come to me with a business idea, I'm going to say, so how are you going to cash flow this? And that cash flow might be to keep your day job for a while. That cash flow might be to go and, find some way of cash flowing it. You're not going to go out and do this thing blind or cold, a bit like I'm doing. You know, I'm starting in the online space, but I'm making sure I get paid every week. Some of you might understand this risk management matrix, where they talk about the impact, first of all, the chance, almost certain, down to very rarely happening. So this is the concept, or the chance of something happening. Over here is what happens from insignificant. If it does happen, it's an insignificant effect, over to catastrophic. Obviously, if something has an almost certain chance of happening and it's catastrophic, you would avoid that, wouldn't you? So avoid this area. Avoid. Don't even bother to go into that space. No, only mad people go into a place that's almost certain to happen, and when it does happen, it's going to be catastrophic or very severe. Avoid that space. The trouble down here, where it's rare and insignificant, is there's no market. There's no market and no learning down here in this place where there's no chance of failure and it's very low significant. There's no market for you down here. We actually need to get down into this sort of area. We need to be operating down in this sort of area where it can be quite catastrophic, but the chances are only unlikely or rare or possible. But before we go there, this is where we start. Let's experiment up in this zone. Let's start in this place where we know it's going to fail. We expect it to fail. That's how we're going to learn. We're expecting it to fail, but when it fails, it's insignificant and minor. But the learning you get from that, the learning you get from playing here, allows you to then go to the commitment zone. We don't jump into this commitment zone at day one. We play up here, and that's why I want you to stick with me this course, and this is the first time I've done this. I forced my students to do an online business, so you're the first ones to be forced to do that. The others, I would plead with them to do it, and they just look at me blank. So I said, all right, the next cohort I get, I'm going to force them as part of the training to actually do it, build the online business. So we are going to experiment with stuff online, where it's not going to cost us anything. If you reckon you've got a really good thing, well, how many followers have you got? How many people have viewed your articles? You know, how much, you know, what's happened with your website? How is it ranked? How does Google rank it? You know, if you've got such a great idea and such a great winning thing, then I'm going to see it working in this space. And when I see it working here, okay, then we might go and commit ourselves to a shop, to a cafe bar, or whatever it is that you've got in mind. So that's how we're going to manage risk. Why is it so hard? Because you need to have 360 degrees of skill, nearly finished. It's not about, I'm a really good chef and I'm going to go and open a restaurant, guaranteed to fail. Because chefing is just 1/10 of what you need to be successful in a restaurant. Because you need to have it all. And if I could just say, if I was to say it's all, it's an online presence, good planning, good finance, good marketing, you've got a chance. But most of us are not all of those things, are we? Most of us have grown up, some of us come from a finance background, a marketing background, a planning background, maybe an online background. Some of us come from various backgrounds, but you need to have it all. It's not good enough. Someone asked me, what do you need to be successful? I said, oh, that's easy. Be very good at everything. That's what you need to be successful. And it sort of sounds a bit funny, but that's the truth. It's not because any one of those gaps that you've got in your learning can take you down. So you need to be a generalist, not a specialist. If you come tonight and say, I am the top of my field in this very pointy totem pole, I'm going to go, that's risky. What I'm looking for is the person that has this, a mound, that has built that mound of experience. So when they change across their 10% or their 10%, they're actually not that far away from the percent. The person and dentists, if you don't mind me saying, dentists are on totem poles. Where does a dentist go that wants to change a career? It's taken them 8 years. How long does it take them, Phil?
6.
6 years, and they're finally in the job at 6 years, looking down people's mouths saying, how's your day been? Oh, you can't even talk to your clients because your fingers are down their throat. And where does a dentist go? They've built a totem pole and they can't. There's nowhere for them to go. For them to come down, they would have to come and join this class and start the whole process again. And that's why a lot of them have very miserable lives, I think, isn't it? It's a known very, very sad outcomes that come from dentists, and that's because they built this totem pole. So what I'm looking for is that more generalist. We need to get that generalist skill. And if you haven't got it, then we need to be building some of that in the course. T-shaped skills. You have your one skill, architecture, but you've got to be able to ask intelligent questions of the marketing, of the finance, of the operations, of the HR. It's no longer, and this is corporate life too, it's no longer enough to say, oh, I'm the architect, I'm excusing myself from this meeting because I only do architect, or I only do marketing, I don't talk operations, or I only do operations, I don't talk finance. You have to be there. These days, you've got to be T-shaped. You've got to be able to ask intelligent questions across the full gamut of stuff, plus still have your strong strength. In entrepreneurship or starting a business, T-shaped skills, absolutely important. And then finally, well, not quite finally, but you've got to integrate this. You can't have a marketing plan that doesn't map with your finance, or a finance that doesn't map with your online. Your whole strategy has to come together as one story. It can't be 10 separate stories. They've got to work together. So that's another reason why it's so hard. And obviously, we can't afford the resources. So what are we going to do? I'm going to introduce you to those key areas over the 12 weeks. I'll cover everything that I think you desperately need to know. There's more, but I'll cover the key areas. So we're going to add basic skills to the primary ones. If you're a marketing person, I'm going to take you through some finance and some online. We're going to create an integrated business model, and that comes out in your presentation. That 10-minute presentation, it doesn't sound hard, but to put your whole story together in one cohesive presentation is very, very hard to do. We will get there by the end of the course, or I'll bash you until you do. Resources. We can get, I'm going to be providing plenty of info, community practice and the further training. Obviously that Saturday workshops are going to be further training, and obviously my plan is for the future is to finally get us all back together, all of my students, and hopefully we start sharing. And I'm going to ask some of my past students to come back and talk to you guys, those that have started businesses and out there ringing me and say, Pete, what do I do now? So a lot of us are saying, but Pete, you've gone on about this entrepreneurship. I don't want to be an entrepreneur, I just want to start a business. Don't go, none of us want to be an entrepreneur. And the funny thing is that when I came to how I got into education was that I was asked to write the national curriculum for vocational graduate certificate in entrepreneurship. That's how it started. And I applied for the job, and I sort of walked in the office and I said, I'm not an entrepreneur. I've opened 30 businesses, but I'm not an entrepreneur, because these guys are entrepreneurs, aren't they? And I think sometimes we sometimes think that entrepreneurs are only these guys. And I didn't even classify myself at that stage. Probably I haven't given myself that title. Southbank gave me the title of entrepreneur in residence because they couldn't find out any other way to pay me, so they paid me with a title. And that just means that I'm here every day of the year, even when I'm only paid for 20 hours a week. And that's how they get around it. They give me a fancy title, and then I've got to attend all these meetings, haven't So you say that, and the real entrepreneurs are Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs. It's not true. You have to become one. You know, where you said, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to go and learn from Pete, a business, I'm going to get the business plan, I'm going to get an ABN, I'm going to get a business name, I'm going to go and start a business. Well, no. We have to start you with some fundamental entrepreneurial skills. Because to be successfully start a business, you need to do these things. You need to think like an entrepreneur. You need to get into that entrepreneurial thinking, which obviously we're going to cover next week or on Thursday. We need to act like entrepreneurs, and we need to follow the entrepreneurial process. There is a process. It took me 30 businesses to figure it out, but yeah, there is a process. There is a way in which you start a business that makes it successful, and there's a way of starting a business that makes it unsuccessful. And I know both because I've done them both. These days, I find that my success rate is up there. Well, my success rate is 100% because my failures are already planned failures. If I'm failing at something, it's because I plan to fail at that, because I want to learn something. And so I want to take you through and show you all these things. I think that's it. So participant survey, you've done. I'll just leave it on that slide and just finish off. All right, so that was a lot of gas bagging from me tonight, and I apologise for that. But going forward, so on Thursday we'll start here because this is where the food is. And then what we're going to do is go to the end room, 4014, which is where the computer room is. We'll still be doing some chats, and then probably from next week I'll start preloading some of the lessons. I probably won't load them all up. Maybe at first I'll load one of the 4 lectures up, so that gives us another 20 or 30 minutes that we can spend discussing. But on Thursday, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get you all connected. We're going to connect to Facebook together. We're going to connect to Box together. We're going to go on Quora together. We're going to get digitally connected, yeah. And then I'll show you how we can leverage that and make that all work for you. Okay. If you haven't enrolled, you don't have to do it tonight. But if you haven't enrolled, you want to leave it till next week or something, that's cool with me.